So for the past 3 weeks, that's what my skies looked like. Okay, so this is an aerial picture of Canada. Apparently, like, I don't know where this guy got this stuff, but as you can see, there's a lot of smoke over my home province. That's a very crude picture of Alberta. You can kind of see, the superimposed provincial borders, and yeah, me specifically, okay, you can see my arrow that's right up there. I am somewhere, depending, because this is kind of weird that the way that they have this illustrated on the flat disc that is Earth. Joking, that is under there. Okay, I'm right there, and we've been under heavy smoke for 3 weeks. Yeah, I've taken some pictures, and it's really tough to get across just how awful it is. Like, if you're standing at one side of an intersection, you can see not very far past the other end of the intersection. Like, it's been terrible. Okay, like, my voice has been suffering, my head has been on the verge of exploding for all of May. Like, it's been really bad. And for the past few years, there's been a wildfire season, but most of the time it was kind of coming out of BC, and it would come and go for, you'd have a couple of really bad days. The sky might turn a little bit dark for a minute, but 3 weeks now, and a couple of those days were just 7 o'clock nights, and normally the sun in my neck of the woods doesn't go down until 11 o'clock. Okay, so it's pretty creepy. And then when you have those orange skies 3 or 4 times over the past 3 weeks, it's something, man. It's super something. Yeah, this guy, Phil Darling, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea who to vote for, so whoever can solve this before the 29th will get my vote, which, if you pay attention to the streams that I do, I have a stream scheduled for Tuesday, and it looks like the election's going to be on Tuesday, so I might be covering that for, I don't know, whoever cares, but if you're interested, I'll be doing that then. Seriously, stop bickering and show me what you can actually be able to do, which, yeah, man, like me, I like Danielle Smith. I think she's done a really good job since taking over that just absolutely cucked out UCP party, United Conservative Party. She's done a lot of good things so far, quite a good few things to try to right the ship. And it's especially better than the alternative, which kind of kicked off all this stuff, if we're going to be completely honest, because the heavy smoke for multiple days in a row didn't really start until about 2018. I'm trying to place everything, and that was the last time that the NDP was in charge, and they are responsible for a lot of the cuts that led to these situations. Okay, because we got the CBC, which again, kind of also makes me big sad that we have to use them as a source, but it is what it is. A history of cuts to Alberta's firefighting budget explained. So they're trying to lump this all on the current party that's in charge's plate. But if we've had a history of all this stuff, and that there's something behind this as well, come on, man, and lumping it on the plate to the person that's actually trying to reform this failed party, I don't necessarily think that's fair, but it's been an intense start to Alberta's wildfire season. Yeah, we went from April, which was absolutely ridiculous. We started the month with about 3 feet of snow on the ground, and then within a couple of weeks, it was all gone. And didn't get, I think we might have had a couple of days of rains from the beginning of April, from the beginning of Dylan Mulvaney season, if we can just go ahead and categorize 2023 by atrocities, all the way through to today. We've had probably a handful of days of precipitation, but nothing that's really all that significant. Snow, I think the last time that it snowed was probably the end of March, and given the fact that this is, it's Victoria Day, so it's our May long weekend. I know that the United States gets theirs next weekend, but ours is this one. Canada does it first, apparently, so that's fine. Yeah, it was never, even growing up and within the past decade or so, it wasn't all that uncommon over the 3-day May long weekend for it to be extremely nice, to rain, and then to wake up on Monday morning with snow on if you're going camping. Like, I know last year there might have still been snow on the ground at this time last year, or at least it wasn't that nice. Like, there's ebbs and flows, but now, hey man, it was touching 30 yesterday, okay? And we've hit multiple days in April and May where, it's been over 30 degrees. Over 25 degrees? Yeah, definitely. About a dozen days. Just, hey man, it's one of those years. And last summer, it didn't get above 25 like 2 or 3 times. So, try to say it's more climate change. No, this shit happens all the time, because even if you take a look, okay, it's the worst season since the last one that was this bad. in 1989 or 1981. Like, it's been a hot second, okay? So to try to chalk it up to that is also just as stupid as to try to say it's Danielle Smith, Alberta independence lady bad. But yes, as of Wednesday, already more than 425,000 hectares have burned, more than double the past 3 years combined. Yeah, okay, because again, all of the wildfires and all of the smoke that's been around that everybody's pointing to, oh, the Conservative Party's so bad because everything's burning. That was all BC because they didn't do proper forest management. Imagine, big shock on that one. But as the crisis unfolds during the provincial election campaign, which, given where all the fires are starting around, all of our big, cities and oil and gas hubs, I don't know, man. Coincidence? Maybe. A debate has emerged about the provincial budget for fighting wildfires and whether past political decisions play a role in Alberta's current crisis. Spoilers, it totally does. On Tuesday, former members of the disbanded Wildland Firefighters Repel program drew attention to the UCP's government's decision to shutter that unit in 2019. Looks bad, but in actuality, okay, so you have a few jumpers that get off of a helicopter, go down into the center of a wildfire and try to contain it before anything happens. Interesting. I'm sure it works. Not exactly sure of the ins and outs, and the fact that, it got shuttered, that's probably an issue, right? Well, again, multi-layered. Go figure. The online debate that ensued, some noted that the NDP also cut the wildfire budget in 2016. Yeah, just throw that in just as a little bit. Just shows you the CBC's bias. So, what was the Wildland Firefighter Repel program? The Repel program was part of Alberta's wildfire response strategy for decades. It was a part of the strategy. How often was it implemented? Let me know. Created in 1983, 7 years before my birth. The unit was specialized firefighters would rappel from helicopters to quickly access remote wildfires. Okay, but also now, given how many that are out there, how effective would that have been this time around? Don't really know. The combination of speed and mobility allowed for more rapid deployment of firefighter resources directed directly to wildfires in cases without road access or safe helicopter landing conditions. And that helps combat fires that are still relatively small. Yep, sounds like a good thing. How often were you deployed? Riddle me that. In the UCP government, under former President Jason Kenney, who cucked out this great province, announced in 2019 that it was closing down the Repel program. The unit had 63 members stationed around the province. 63 members. How effective is that now? 63 members of this program. So you had a relatively small program get shut down, mostly because its funding had already been cut. So why did the program end? Devin Dreeshen, then the UCP's Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, announced the decision in November 2019 and said that it was informed by a desire to modernize Alberta's firefighting and making changes to align with the best practices in other provinces. Keep that in mind for a second. Best practices and modernization. I think you know where this is going. Dreeshen gave two key justifications. Less than 2% of the firefighters repelled into wildfires in Alberta, so it was useless, and the cuts would save $23 million. Okay, so guess what? One of those things ended up being a lie. Shortly after Dreeshen's announcement, the members of the Repel program filed for a Freedom of Information request. Those documents showed that closing the program saved only $1.4 million. That's the lie. The other one, they also captured confusion among government staffers in emails about the 2% figure Dreeshen used. The number reflects how often the repelling was used across all wildfires in Alberta from 2014 to 2018. Okay, so under its revised budgets. Interesting. How often were used? Very rarely, if ever. Okay, so why are you around chewing up taxpayer dollars? Good questions, but we'd like to continue getting those taxpayer dollars. You can see where the problem manifests. But repelling is a tactic meant to be used only when there are other options, when there are no other options? Is that what that should say? Such as landing a helicopter nearby are not possible. Yeah, and you were still only employed 2% of the time. How would that help us right now? We don't know. The government correspondence show the repel teams were called out around 100 times each year during that period, and repelling was required more than 20 times per year. So a fifth of the time, your speciality was required. Okay, why can't that be covered by another program that's out there? So Not saying that this tactic was no longer employed. It was just this relatively scarce team. Okay. So yeah, if you take a look, Alberta Wildfires going all the way back to 2005, not very much. Okay, and then a big jump in 2011. Okay, your team was still at full funding and there were still that many wildfires. Interesting. And then 2012, significant decrease, but still up well over everything else, which, yeah, obviously you're going to have some dead and fallen wood and probably not enough cleanup that was there. And then 13, 14 was fine. And then 15, 16 was, whoo, doggy, pretty bad. 17, 18, not great. 2019, big spike, a little bit bigger than 2011. And then, yeah, just nothing happened in 2020. Well, what happened? And then, yeah, so far, 802,000 hectares have burned. That seems to be on cycle, if we're going to be completely honest, okay? Not great, but that's what's up. So it kind of looks like your repelling program wasn't all that significant, okay? How important is the repelling team for wildfires? So they're obviously going to try to justify themselves. Looking at the data from 2011 to 2019, yeah, we're the most, if not everything, burnt. Okay, interesting. The report finds that if the crew arrives at the fires faster, they were significantly more likely on average to contain a fire by the following day. Yeah, okay, so that's this demographic that's right there. Crew arrives at the fire within 2 hours. Oh, crew arrives when a fire is under 2 hectares. That's what that means. Okay, 6% of the fire is not contained by the next mornings. Okay, so when the crew arrives, when the fire is less than 2 hectares, so within 57, so over 57% contained by the next morning, 43%, and then 94% if it's greater than 2 hectares, less than 2 hectares. Okay, great, fantastic. So when they were employed in those remote situations, they seemed to be reasonably effective. But again, you were called out a handful of times. Okay, what's to say that something else couldn't have been accomplished? You were just the on-call unit. But okay, let's take it at the premise that this could have stopped a couple of the fires. There's multiple of them going on right now. Okay, but I don't discount that. No hate on those guys. Like, oh, you're rappelling into... Let's not downplay the severity of what they're doing. They're hopping into a fire out of a helicopter. That takes some balls, some absolute brass balls to do this, which I would have preferred, given the alternative. But did the NDP also cut the wildfire budget? Yes. Oh, okay, cool. I'm surprised the CBC just didn't go yes, but the UPC closed it, or the UCP closed it. Oh, okay. Under former Premier Rachel Notley, piss be upon her, the provincial government cut $15 million from the wildfire budget in 2016. Oh, okay, so the Conservative Party cut $1.5 million. They said that it was more, but it obviously wasn't. But the NDP cut $15 million from the wildfire budget in 2016. Oh, that's from the wildfire budget. Okay. See, the move faced criticism at the time. So in 2016, what ended up spiking right after 2016? Oh, okay, cool. So they cut it in 2016, 611,000 hectares burned. And they were still in power all the way through until 2019 when the next election rolled around. And yep, not good. Not good at all whatsoever. Fantastic. Notley defended her decision at the time, saying that the province's emergency budget would cover any firefighting needs. The province spent $375 million fighting wildfires in 2015, and all of that money came from the emergency budget. Fantastic. Those 2 years combined saw more than 1 million hectares burn in Alberta. Yeah, good job. Good job. So you cut the wildfire budget. So you had to look for more volunteer firefighters that you couldn't pay anymore, but you could staff them because you have, you got more available budgets that are out there. And we could also look at the lower rates of people coming in wanting to volunteer for a very dangerous job. And the best that you're going to do is get a pat on the back by a cackling hen. Great. Fantastic. I can do without that. If I wanted to be bossed around by some bitch in middle management, I would just go take a Walmart job. So what do you end up getting off the back of this? Funny you should ask. You get plans like this. I might as well enlarge it a little bit. A fire service for all. Women in fire. Oh, great. We are pleased to present a report entitled A Fire Service for All, exploring ways to further diversity and inclusivity for women in the Canadian fire industry. Fantastic. This report synthesized the findings from September 13th, 2019, joint meeting of the Alberta Fire Emergency Management and Wildfire Management Women. A few women. Get it? God, because it always takes a few of them to do anything. And the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. Women, fire chiefs, and company Officers Network of Canada. The importance of this report for the CAFC, diversity, equity, and inclusion, will focus on gender and more recently on race and ethnicity. Oh, I love it. Are a core priority for the CAFC. They are viewed and embraced as fundamental to our future success as a sector, not as a special interest pursuit. Sure. Our thanks to a few women who co-hosted the national event, which ended up infusing and then also adding inclusivity to firefighting. How does that end up working out? Well, you end up getting such caring programs such as WTracks Canada, taking place in Banff National Park, one of the most beautiful places that you're likely to find in all of Canada. I'm not lying at this point in time. Like I know I was being a little bit hyperbolic earlier and a touch facetious, but Banff National Park, it's probably the nicest place that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've seen pictures of some of the great national wonders in the world, but Banff it's gorgeous, man. I would highly recommend anybody coming to Alberta, go through Banff, just take a look at it. It's beautiful, man, absolutely beautiful. But this was taking place May 1st through May 12th. Interesting. Note that as well. So this is all about, WTracks is an intensive 12-day training exchange that combines practical live fire training with indoor learning and discussion and advanced participation, qualifications, and experience in wildfire operations. Oh, good to know. And this is a diversity program. This is all for women women in fire training exchange. Yes, fantastic. And what ended up happening there? They ended up starting a fire. Great, fantastic. Parks Canada says fire near Banff, Alberta, now held after burning out of control. May 3rd. That happened May 3rd, that ended up happening. And then it got updated on May 4th. What was going on during that time? Oh, right, this women in fire training exercise. And you're telling me that they let a fire get out of control? You don't say. You don't say at all. Yeah, feminist firefighting accidentally set Banff ablaze. Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with, and that's why, I haven't been the highest of energy lately, and I've, been kind of perceptively under the weather. I personally feel, well, I know I'm not sick, and I know I'm not injured or anything like that. It's just the voice ends up taking a hit because the smoke is so thick outside. I've been discombobulated, can't really think all that straight because, it's been relentless over the past 3 weeks, and hopefully it gets better, but I don't know. I also know that diversity, inclusion, and equity is all about firefighting right now, so who knows, man. Maybe they won't be happy until everything's burnt down to the ashes, but this is the matriarchy at work, guys. Isn't it so great? You get rid of all of those dastardly, evil, toxically male firefighters that are out there. You cut their funding because they're not inclusive enough. Fantastic stuff. Well, this is what you end up getting. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.